I am the Reverend Lynn Hopkins. I am the minister at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Montgomery. Well, this Sunday we were anticipating a visit from some folks from OSA that we thought might want to enter our sanctuary and disrupt our service. We were prepared for that to happen. We mounted video recording devices in several places so that if anything did happen, we would have a complete record of it. We also made sure that all of our members were completely familiar with the provision of the FACE Act that would protect them and allow them to recover damages if there was any interference with people's right to freedom of religion. Yes, OSA selected the Amos 5:24 text as their slogan for this assembly, and when I saw that, I was profoundly offended. There was such a corruption of the scripture, and so I immediately resolved that I would preach on that text. Let justice roll down like waters and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. And so I talked about the context in which Amos spoke those words, that it really addressed failure to care for those in need, failure to grant access to safe living conditions, sufficient nutrition, proper health care, the very things that we as a congregation are struggling to make sure that everyone gets, and I think in many ways the things against which OSA is fighting. Well, first of all, there are several places in the scripture that suggest pretty clearly that an individual human life begins at the emergence, at the actual birth of the child. Now, I understand that there are scriptural suggestions that God knows us from prior to our conception, and quite frankly, we as Unitarian Universalists believe that it would be a very small and weak God that had to contradict the laws of nature and science. We believe that nature and science, and the more that we know about the human body and the more that we know about the world we live in, the more we come to understand about God. So life began some 8 billion years ago. To say that conception is the beginning of life would also say that God aborts 90-some% of pregnancies, because the vast majority of conceptions do not proceed past the first few days. So it is truly a position not rooted in fact or reason. One thing I want to say is that my congregation is not unanimous on the pro-choice position that I myself take, and I respect the variety of positions. There's a lot of ambivalence. But one thing that we hold strongly is the individual right to conscience. It has to be the moral decision of the individual and not imposed by any external power. We truly hold that the individual human being is a divine creature. Every one of us has something of God in us, and so to deny the moral integrity and the individual conscience of human beings, really, we think, is an act against God. To try to enforce any particular belief system against the will or the good sense of humanity is, in a word, oppression, and certainly not an act that in any way is supportive of the movement and presence of God among us.